Hello and welcome to the Final Whistle podcast. My name is Harry McBain, and joining myself and my co-host Bobby today is an actor who played Anthony Moon in EastEnders. He's a Manchester United fan. He's 2013 Dancing on Ice runner-up, Matt Lapinskas. Thanks for joining us, Matt. How are you?
I'm very well, Harry. How are you?
I'm brilliant, thank you. And now, start off with an easy question. You're a Man United fan. What made you become a fan?
So fan was basically when I was a young kid growing up. I was through that era of David Beckham, Scholesy, but I was born into that sort of era. So my dad being Canadian and not a massive football fan, massive NFL fan, but not a massive football fan. I was kind of able to choose my own team. I wasn't forced upon a team. So obviously it was they seem to be the most popular team around, and since then I've just followed them ever since and absolutely love them.
Brilliant.
Yeah, so obviously being such a big United fan, could you give us what was maybe like your favourite moment as a United fan, like your biggest memory since you've been supporting them?
Oh, the biggest moment is obviously the treble, 100%.
Yeah.
Winning that I mean, I was only young at the time as well, but that was special. But I think one of my best memories was I was at the United game when Ronaldo scored that free kick against Portsmouth over David James. It was
Fair
just
play.
I mean,
That would be mental.
Yeah, to see Ronaldo play as well live it's ridiculous. He's so good. He's got even better since. So yeah, there's so many moments with United, and yeah, it's just I love them to pieces.
Yeah, and as of time of recording, Man United are second in the league, 10 points behind rivals City. Do you think that you can catch up with them, or do you think you're just fighting for second place with obviously Leicester are doing quite well?
Leicester are doing amazing this season. I think Brendan Rodgers has got them playing really, really well. They've got some great players. I mean, Vardy is, I think, got to be up there with one of the best buys ever in the Premier League. What was he like? He was like £1 million from, was it Fleetwood or someone it was from?
Yeah, something like that.
I mean, what a buy that is. But for United, I thought so. I tell you what, I was in the Netherlands a little while ago, and I was watching us play Burnley, and we beat Burnley, I think 1-0 away. Pogba scored, and I thought, you know what, if we can stay within sort of 3-4 points of City over the next few weeks, we'll have a chance. But then we played Sheffield United, and then we played West Brom, and now I'm like, no, I don't think we're title challengers this season. I think we'd guarantee. I don't want to say guarantee, but I think if we keep up the sort of momentum, we've had a bit of a dip, but obviously last night was a great game as well, and I think if we carry on that momentum, we'd definitely finish top four, and see if we can push on. We need to sort out defence. Like, that's just we need to sort it out.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it was always going to come down to like the players you have up top and in midfield. The ability is all there with like Pogba, Rashford, Bruno, everything. It is always going to work going forward. But defensively, as good as Maguire can be on this day, it is always like a risk, isn't he? So it's always that controversy.
It's hard because he's very passionate, Maguire. You can see that about him. He really he wants to win, and he's got a massive price tag. And with everything that happened with him in Greece and everything, coming back from that, I think he's done really well for himself. So I like Maguire a lot. I do blame him for the Everton goal. I don't know why he decided to drop back 5 yards and everybody else pushed up, but it's more with Maguire. It's more decision making. He's definitely got the ability, like you said. It's his decision making and what he's got to do. And yeah, we definitely have the ability going forward with Bruno, with Pogba, with Greenwood, who's a sensation, and Rashford. And like Ferguson said, defense wins you titles. At the end of the day, your defense can win your titles. Your attack's amazing. They win your games, but defenders win your titles. And I'm not 100% on Bally, and I'm not 100% on Lindelof. I think Luke Shaw's had an amazing season. Wan-Bissaka, I mean, is great defender, great tackler. He's getting better going forward. He looks like more of a complete sort of right back, but I think we just need to sign a centre back.
Who would you think realistically, looking at obviously with the United status in the game at the moment? Obviously they've fallen a little bit from what they were under Fergie, but with what you can pull in, who would you look out in the market today and think, I think they would do really well with Maguire at the back?
It's a hard one, really, because it's like, do you buy someone
A
like
big money player,
yeah, do you
or
like
risk it?
or risk it, or buy someone that's sort of young and hungry and wants to play? But
Mhm.
I do think we need. I mean, Maguire's still very young, um, even though he's England international, he's United's captain. I still do think he's experienced at that level. Obviously, coming from like Hull and then Leicester, I think that the level and the pressure at United is totally different to any other club you go to. As soon as you play for Man United, that level of responsibility on your shoulders is massive, and that's what I come back to. His decision making isn't, he's kind of he gets found out a little bit. For me, it's. I mean, there was talk about Sergio Ramos coming from Madrid. I'm up for that, but then that doesn't really solve the long
No,
term. Do you know what I mean? It's a quick fix, and that's what I've hated about United for the past, like when obviously Mourinho was there and Van Gaal. We bought a lot of quick fixes, like Zlatan, quick fix. Cavani, quick. He's a quick fix, but he's great. He's amazing. But we've only got him for a season. There's lots of talk about different defenders, but it's one of those. It's so much, like, we're linked with so many different players in the papers like every day. And strikers as well, and like Sancho and the young player from Dortmund, Haaland, yeah. But we've got so many quality strikers, and we just need to concentrate on that defence. But to be honest with you, to answer your question, I don't really know. To be honest with you, I do not really know who is out there who will come into United and change us. Like, because obviously you need an instant, like Fernandes has been, like Cantona was, instant impact straight away. And that's what we need. We need this defender that's going to come in, just literally pull Maguire about and tell him, where he's got to be, what he's got to do, and just boss it, really boss it.
Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of people were interested in getting Upamecano, I think, from Leipzig, but I think he's now agreed to go to Bayern. So I think that one's gone out the window.
Because I watched him play, and I mean, he's a good player, but I just don't know if it's. The Premiership is just such a different level to other leagues, and so when you get dropped in, and there'll be so much pressure on whoever it is comes into that spot. I don't know if it needs to be a Ramos, to come in and is like, literally, I've done it at this level, I can do it, and maybe that will help us, win the league, and then we can press them from them. Maybe like Alex at the back as well. What's his? Can't pronounce his last name. I know you mean. If we get a Ramos in, we might be able to, even Lindelof, even Bally, even Phil Jones. I mean, Solskjaer said the other day that he's gonna come back and play a part, which is gonna be funny. I'm looking forward to his facial expressions.
Yeah, the memes come back.
Yeah, the memes will come back. But maybe if we've got Ramos there for like a season or a couple of seasons, people can learn. Because I think the youngsters up front are learning so much of Cavani. It's amazing to watch.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I agree. So I spoke to my friend Robbie's a United fan, and he doesn't like Cavani at all. And personally, I actually think he's been quite a good signing, like, especially in terms of, he sort of brings that same thing that David Luiz does, where he's not going to perform every game, but especially with like the younger players coming through, having someone that experienced in the team, it really does sort of, it helps the younger players to, grow a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's the same with Chelsea. I think obviously Thiago Silva has not had as much of an impact as people might have thought, but I think for experience with Kurt Zouma now securing his spot in the first team, I think learning off Thiago Silva is going to be good for him.
I think with if you want to go forward as a Premier League club, you need experience. You have to have experience in your side. You can't. I mean, it was said you can't win nothing with youngsters, but then Ferguson obviously proved that wrong. But it's you do need experience, and I with Cavani, I mean, I've got quite a few United fans, and I think everyone's quite happy with him. So, I mean, your friend Robbie, I don't know what he's talking about. I'm not going to lie. I mean, did he watch the Southampton game where he came off the bench and scored
I don't know.
goals? Like,
gonna have to tell him that.
Yeah, he's been our talisman up front. He was the sub to start off with, and now he's forced his way into his team. Do you know what it is? Is his work rate and his he runs the most. Like, when you look at the figures after, he's the one that's run the most on the pitch. He tracks back, which someone like, if Martial's playing up top and he loses the ball, it's he gets all huffy and won't track back. Cavani will run the whole length of the field if he loses the ball to get the ball back.
Yeah,
and that's what you want to see. That's what that's the way I play football as well. If I lose the ball, I'm tracking. I don't care how far I've got to run. I will keep working until I got that ball back. But and I think it's rubbing off on Rashford, because like Rashford, I mean, Solskjaer got caught saying, didn't he, on the microphone, he's like, oh, that Rashford, he can't defend, but he can't. But he's learning off Cavani, and he's seeing how much work rate you have to put in to be a decent striker. So yeah, I think he's fundamental.
Just talk about the manager maybe a little bit. What do you think of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer? Obviously, he's a little bit controversial at times, maybe not doing as well as he should have done. Do you think he is an underrated manager, or are you pleased with him, how he's been so far?
It's it's like having a girlfriend. It's like a love-hate relationship with Ollie. It's a weird one. I've said like openly to my friends, like, Ollie out. I want Ollie out, like ages ago. But you know what the thing is with Ollie is, what he's done is he has a dip, like we've had recently. We've drawn with West Brom. We lost to Sheffield United, drew with Everton, and then we go and smash Real Sociedad 4-0. And then hoping we'll beat Newcastle, and then we'll probably go on and beat Chelsea, but then we'll lose to someone else. He always has like a little run where if the pressure gets a little bit heavy, he then produces a win. Like it's a strange one. It's hard to look at last season as well, because obviously we got into, what was it, like 4 semi-finals, but lost all of them. That's hard, and that's where we need stronger and more experienced players in those sort of games. Sometimes his team selection isn't great. I don't agree with some of the players that he plays. I think we have our strongest 11, but I don't think he actually knows it himself. Squad rotation is massive at the moment, but I do like Ollie. I've grown to like him. I think he's cool, he's calm, he's collective. But I still don't think he's the right man to take United to the next stage.
Yeah, I agree when you said there, like, I've said it before to people, like, whenever Ollie seems like, there's rumours, Ollie needs to get this result, otherwise he'll lose his job, and then he just does that and he'll get the results. He'll do that for a while, and then one bad result, and then you have a string of bad games, and it just kind of repeats itself.
Yeah, it's a strange one, because obviously he was at the start of the season, it was like, Ollie might be getting a sack. 10 games later, we're second in the Premier League, 2 points. We're second in the Premier League, 2 points behind City, into like every cup and everything. So the only one we've obviously out of is the League Cup, again, sort of semi-final. But we're doing well on all competition fronts. Premier Leagues was going well until obviously Sheffield United, which I was really annoyed at us, really, because we got that impression that we turned up and thought Sheffield United got the table, knock the ball around, and we'll score a few goals and win. And Sheffield United turned up and didn't let us do that, and we didn't really know what to do. And it's those things when Ollie, as a manager, I feel maybe someone with a bit more experience would see that we were kind of a bit lackadaisy and put a rocket up our ass and be like, you've got to, it's time to play. Like, what's going on? Do you know what I mean? And change it up. I dare say Mourinho, but Mourinho's not afraid to, after 15 minutes, if someone's like running around or not doing it, he'll sling you off. He'll put someone else on. He's not afraid to do that. So it's those moments that I think he needs to be stronger in.
Yeah, I was actually the next point about Jose. Some fans liked him, some fans didn't like him. What was your view on him as his time at United?
I've always liked Jose. I think he's great for the Premier League. I think he's a great character. I think you got a real insight to him. Have you boys watched the Tottenham Hotspur documentary?
Yeah, I watched a bit of it. Yeah,
it's amazing insight to him. I thoroughly like him as a man as well. And I loved him at United. I thought he was great for United. I was glad when he got appointed. I was sad when he was sacked. I felt like not that he lost the dressing room, but he lost some big influences there. So obviously, like Pogba, you could see that he wasn't. He got the best out of some players. Like Scott McTominay under Mourinho was an absolute beast.
Yeah.
But Pogba didn't really want to play. And it was really sad when players don't really want to play. And I think he's such a big, personality in that dressing room that other players start feeding off that. And eventually, it just wasn't working. Like Luke Shaw, completely like chalk and cheese. Mourinho didn't play well, publicly like humiliated him and everything. Under Solskjaer, totally different player. So there are things that I think Mourinho could have done better. But again, I thought he was good. I thought he made decent signings. He kind of wasn't given, he wanted to sign Maguire, but they didn't give him the money. And then as soon as Solskjaer was appointed, boom, get Maguire. Stuff like that. I'm just like, I think Tottenham have a really good manager. I think they should stick with him, and I think he will win them trophies. I wouldn't be surprised if they do City in the final of the League Cup.
You think so?
I honestly, Mourinho is a different level when it comes to finals.
We'll see. I hope they don't win. I really hope they don't win, because it's just so good to throw that over Tottenham fan in an argument. Like, no matter where they win, how far are they above us in the table? They're not winning trophies. Then I'm automatically going to bring it up. Like, it's always got to happen.
So I always bring it upon Bobby to mention a few years ago back in the FA Cup when Forest beat Arsenal 4-2, just to shut down anything. I'll just bring that up.
Yeah, it's always a good one.
Legend. Yeah.
But anyway, also you mentioned it a little bit before about Pogba, him not playing that well under Mourinho, and obviously one of his main critics was Graham Souness. He loved, stick a little word and say how bad Pogba was doing.
Yeah.
Obviously, being your record signing, what do you personally make of Pogba? And, would you be sad if he left? And how happy have you been with his performances so far?
If you would have asked me this question probably about 2 months ago, I would have said, get him out. I'm bored of him. I'm bored of his laziness. I'm bored of his moaning. I hate it when you see him players and they're throwing their arms up in the air. They're getting fed up with this and fed up with that. Just, I see Bruno do it a little bit, but then he is determined to go and there score a goal. Like
he backs it up with his stats.
Yeah. When we were playing West Brom, he was so frustrated because people weren't making runs. It was lackadaisy. And then he's throwing his arms up. He didn't get the ball, threw his arms up in the air, but then his next thought is like, I'm getting in the box. And next thing you know, he's pinging one in off his shin into the top corner.
Yeah.
And he's so happy when he scores. But Pogba, if it doesn't go his way, he throws all his toys out the pram. And he sort of like walks around and doesn't really do much. But recently, he's been an absolute talisman for us. His goal against Fulham, his goal against Burnley, he's been our real leading man. I think Solskjaer's got the best out of him. Doesn't help that he's got an absolute idiot of an agent, but apart from that, it's I don't even like mentioning his name because I think he's so bad for football. But yeah, I right now I'd be very sad to see Pogba go. I think he's a great player to have around. I think he is an experience. I think he is a true winner. So that's what you need at your clubs. You want winners.
Yeah, I think definitely is. A lot of the pundits say that when you look at what he can do, especially when they in the World Cup with France, and it's clearly, I think, when it's obviously, as you said, their mentality, when he's in the mood to do something and he's happy, he'll do it. But when things aren't going his way and when he isn't in the best of moods with someone, then he just can't be bothered. And I think, as you said there, his agent earlier in the season basically saying that they want to leave United was just stupid, really.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, and another midfielder that was brought in the summer, Donny van de Beek, hasn't featured as much as some people thought he might have done. Do you think he should be in the team more often, or do you think, obviously with Bruno doing well, that he needs to create a more of an impact when he is featuring in the first team?
Donny van de Beek, our greatest bench warmer ever. I feel sad for him. I think Gary Neville said it the other day. When the camera goes to him and he's sitting on the bench, you do just want to go give him a cuddle and be like, "It's going to be okay, Donny.
Yeah,
it's going to be all right." But I don't think Solskjaer was prepared to. Let me redo this. Solskjaer wasn't ready to understand how much of an impact Fernandes was going to have, and leaving him out of any game, we don't look like the same side. So he's got to play Fernandes. He could have rested him last night, but then 3 of the goals came from Fernandes. So he can't afford to leave him out the side. And he's obviously got that pairing that he loves, which is Fred and Scott McTominay. So, which he plays in quite a few games and big games and everything. So Donny just does not fit in. He will eventually fit in, and I think he will be a good player for United. But the times he's actually got the chance, he's gone missing. I don't know where he's been. I think he's dug himself a hole and jumped in it, because I didn't when he last played, I didn't see him hardly ever touch the ball. He didn't play well. I think he's struggling to adapt. I think obviously, when you come to United and there was a lot of hype about him, but obviously with other players performing, he hasn't had that chance. But when you say, when he has had the chance, he hasn't been able to do it.
Yeah,
and it's sad, but I do think he will be a good player.
obviously with him like performing, he's putting so much on himself that he's not going to perform as well because obviously he's so worried about not getting picked for the next game.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's a massive thing. There's like I said, there's always pressure when you come to United on United's shoulders, and every time he's going onto the pitch, I think he's trying too hard to impress, or he's not even trying at all, or it's just becoming too much for him because I don't see enough from him to justify Solskjaer to say, yeah, you've played well today. I'm definitely going to consider you for the next game. It's just, it doesn't happen.
Definitely. I was just going to put on about him is I think one of the problems with bringing him, the way that he was brought in, I think it may have been obviously with United get linked over the summer with every name on the planet, just because it's a name. And I think maybe the way he was brought in, because he was hyped up so much with Ajax, that maybe it was the transfer idea that you bring him in because he's his name and you know he's got a good future because he's young and he's doing really well. Maybe with obviously, as you said, with the arrival of Bruno doing so well and Ollie can't leave him out, that maybe he is just going to have to wait because maybe until Bruno stops being really good, because he really does need to improve, I think, from his current standard to.
Oh, absolutely,
definitely.
He's definitely got to step it up. But then what I say to all the, because obviously, like you say, United are linked with everybody in the transfer market every time. It'd be interesting to know how much say Solskjaer does actually have in these transfers, because I am not convinced that Solskjaer actually wanted him. Do you know what I mean? I think he was brought in by Ajax, very good, talented. I think he probably was scouted. I think maybe it was a sort of a backup buy for Fernandes, or maybe they weren't sure that they were going to get Fernandes, so there was an agreement there already. You don't know these type of things, but I think unfortunately he's come at the wrong time, and there are players that are better than him in his position. Because you look at Fernandes will play in that number, sort of like the CAM, and you'll have Fred and McTominay behind, and if McTominay doesn't play, it's Pogba, or if Fred doesn't play, it's going to be McTominay. So it's just, and I don't think Donny he's not a sitting midfielder. He wants to play that Bruno role. He wants to be involved. But if Bruno's out, then he moves Pogba forward and brings in Scott and Fred. There's just no place for him. It's just really hard.
Definitely.
Yeah, I'll see. With that, Harry, you mentioned about United being linked with everyone under the sun in every transfer window. Obviously, there's two main ones. Sancho was quite a big one last summer, and maybe Haaland now, as he's becoming a bit more of a hotter prospect, one of the biggest prospects in the league. I was going to say, as a United fan, who would you rather have? If you could pick out of Sancho or Haaland, who would you pick?
Well, Sancho hasn't really performed that well this season. I'm not going to lie.
No, he hasn't.
He's got about 3 goals and like a couple of assists or something like that in his time. I think we just need to concentrate on getting a defender first. I don't think this. I mean, we'll be linked to everybody, so it'd be interesting to see who we actually buy and who actually goes. I mean, you look at Jesse. Jesse's gone to West Ham and he's playing phenomenally. But it will be interesting. It's going to be an interesting summer, I think, for a lot of clubs. I think for Liverpool particularly as well. I think City are looking to strengthen. It'd be interesting to see who Mourinho can bring in. I think it's going to be a really interesting one, because obviously with everything that's happened, I don't think there's been a lot of transfers been able to sort of go through with all COVID and everything like that. But I think once summer comes and maybe it's a bit more settled, it's going to be a really interesting transfer window.
Yeah. And United in the Europa League and beat Sociedad 4-0. Do you think that you can win that competition? Because there are a lot of good teams in there, as we mentioned, Ajax already. Arsenal are in it, so you never know.
They don't really come under the good teams.
No,
do they?
No. So I've got them in brackets.
Not right. Yeah.
Do you think you can win the competition? Obviously, you won it under Jose.
I think we'll get to the semi-finals. I think we'll lose. Probably lose to like Leicester or something, or because there's very good sides in there. It'd be interesting. I'd like to play Rangers. I'd like to see United versus Rangers. I think that'd be a class game, or even Liverpool versus Rangers. I just think it'd be nice to see Gerrard versus Liverpool. What a game that would. On Liverpool, even in it, what I'm talking about. United Rangers would be a good game. I think we can do it. I think the tie, touch wood, I think the tie is over. I think we can play Donny. I think we can play a few other players. I think Phil Jones might come back in. I mean, I love Henderson over De Gea 100%.
Yeah.
But I do think we can win it as long as the tie falls our way. If you get my drift.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
and obviously, maybe another one. There's a little bit more controversial. It's a little bit off topic, but with VAR, are you a fan of VAR or do you not like it in football?
So, it's been quite a hot topic because during this COVID period and everything like this, like with my acting work, it's like really slow, guys. I'm not even gonna lie. I had like 2 films cancelled last year. My Panto went this year, so it's been really like rubbish. But I jumped back on with a couple of lads doing some building work, and we did like a big garden office shed room for somebody that works in VAR. And so
really,
we finished his like garden shed, and we put all his screens up for him and chatted to him, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm one of the sort of people that sit behind and do VAR," and I'm like, oh, "Okay." So he was watching all the games, analysing it, and I was like, so I text him now, and I'm like, "Mate, what the hell is that decision about?" It's really like 1 week it can be great VAR. I think it does well, and then another week it's just so inconsistent. I think if it was consistently good, or if it consistently did the right decisions, but there's some decisions where you go, what? How have they not looked at that, or why are they looking at this, or
it is weird.
And they have some of the offsides, and it's literally like his drawstring on his straw on his shorts has caused him to be offside. Like it's those decisions are just ridiculous.
Yeah, and I think the offside rule, not necessarily just on the VAR, but the offside, the way they do the offside is so annoying to watch. With you have to call it really late because they might score or they might not, and just like if you're offside, just blow the whistle. Like
I personally think from playing football as well, like a lot, and obviously playing, when you're offside and it stops, and that's fine. I personally think it's even more dangerous the way they're doing things. Because you think about it, if someone goes through and they're like offside or they're onside or whatever, they're running through and someone's losing like 1-0, and you think, all right, if I take him out now, I'm going to get a red card and they get a free kick outside the box. So you absolutely smash him and injure him, and then the linesman goes, oh, by the way, it's offside. So he's now hasn't got a red card, but that player is now injured.
Yeah, it was like the thing with Pickford and Van Dijk.
Yeah, it's stuff like that didn't need to happen. And I think there was one the other week as well. I think it was a United player, but like I think it might have been Pogba going in for attack on the keeper, or like they were like came and like it was a big collision, and then it was like offside. It's like that didn't need to happen. And I think Solskjaer made the point. It was like just you need to prevent these things from happening. So they just need to smarten up a bit, really.
You've played in some charity football matches, as we all know, with the likes of Robbie Savage, Lee Johnson. Could you maybe tell us, what was that like? Who was the best player to play with? Obviously, you mentioned Teddy Sheringham before. How was that like experience for you? And was it a fun thing to do?
Oh, I've loved playing football. Football's like a big part of my life. It brings me joy. I love playing it. I played it since I was a kid. It was an absolute pleasure. I mean, being an actor was sort of. I was playing quite a good standard when I was younger, and I kind of had to make a choice. So I made the choice to sort of be an actor. Not that I was going to go on and be an absolute superstar footballer like Ronaldo, but you never know. But to then get the chance to sort of like raise money for charity and also play in these amazing stadiums, like I've played at Leicester, Norwich. I mean, the Norwich game for me, it stands out massively. It's his name. It's Jamie. It's this disabled guy, and he's phenomenal. The work he does, and the Norwich community all come together, and to walk out with play with like Darren Huckabee and Darren Eady. Who else played that game? I think Robbie Savage played that game as well. But we walked out to 14,000 people.
Yeah,
that is
coming out the tunnel to that, and I scored 2 goals that day as well, and it was just like,
oh, go on.
Yeah, it was when you score and everyone's cheering, and it was just, I think we were like 5-0 down at half time because Huckabee was an absolute baller and scored like 4 goals, and then we came back to win it like 8-5 or something, and I scored 2 of the goals, and it was just to score in front of 14,000 people, and it's just the eruption. And I was just like, wow. But yeah, I think the best. I tell you who made me not laugh, but made me was just phenomenal. Was Paul Dickoff. Such a nice guy. Such a nice guy off the pitch. Get onto that football pitch. He was snapping your legs off. He was, 100%. And then it's a funny one. I played at Notts County, and Peter Beardsley, remember Newcastle player, England.
Oh yeah.
So I was through 1-on-1. I went round the keeper, and a bit of a bad touch, put the ball a bit forward, and I knew I wasn't going to get there. But the keeper did slide out. He kind of touched me. He might not touch me, but I went down and was like, "Ref, it's a penalty, easy." He wasn't too happy with that and came over and called me a naughty word and a diver. And we were both playing in midfield. He's a lot older than me, so every time I got the ball, did a little doggy on it, and he was literally at my ankles all the time, the whole game. And then I took the ball down and turned on it, a little bit of a bad touch, left it in front of me, and he's come through 2-footed, absolutely smashed me to pieces. Like nearly took my leg off. I've got the pictures. I'll send them to you on Instagram after. I'll send you the pictures. But yeah, he absolutely smashed me rotten.
Oh, mental.
And then once I was on the floor, he went, "Get up," and I was like, "Okay, I can here. I shouldn't dive, and I should just play football." But no, I love playing football. I because I played at like a nice level. It's good to play with amazing ex-pros, and obviously they appreciate that you've played a bit as well. Because I mean, it's all for charity. But some celebrities come down and everything like that, and they really can't play. They're there for a good time. But with the ex-pros, they're so determined. They so want to win all the time. So they like to know that they've got people around that they can ping the ball to. Gary Ainsworth, I mean, what a manager of Wycombe.
I saw him the other day in the town centre here.
What a player. What a player. If you can look it up on YouTube, he played at Wycombe. He scored an overhead kick from like outside the box. Like, it was just incredible. He's just, it was. I mean, I've been very privileged to play at like amazing stadiums to raise. I think we've raised over £1 million now for charity. So that's amazing. And it's just, all my childlike dreams have all come true. So it's all good.
Just to give you a quick last question here. How much are you enjoying seeing Liverpool do badly in the league?
For me, I know I don't like teams like doing badly, and it's like they are doing badly, though, aren't they? They're doing really bad.
It's pretty bad.
For me, it's not funny, but it's very enjoyable to watch Klopp. His face is a picture. It tells 1,000 words, and he's so frustrated at the moment there. It's not happening for him. And I think they're kind of looking around. They've lost their talisman, Van Dijk, and they're kind of struggling. I mean, when Henderson's playing centre-back, you're kind of going, "Oh, this is nice." And when they're losing to like Burnley at home, Brighton at home, I was like, "Oh my, this is just it's not the same Liverpool." But they'll be back. Trust me, they will finish strong. They will pick it up, and it wouldn't surprise me if they finish like third or fourth or second.
Yeah, most likely. I mean, they have the class in their team, don't they? So absolutely, it's probably going to happen.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's all we have time for. Thanks, Matt, for joining us. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Well, thank you, Harry, and thank you, Bobby. It's been an absolute pleasure.